Right, it's my turn to talk for a level now. It's absolutely awful listening to all you lot be funny, because normally I'm in a studio with footballers and businessmen, so I'm the funniest person in the room against poor competition. Here, this is hell. There's nothing funny to say.
It's like when Alan Sugar says this is a job interview from hell. I mean, who wants to work in hell? I'll go and get a job down to Spud You Like rather than work for you.
Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Adrian Chiles. In the news this week, EasyJet staff at Stansted deny they're under pressure to speed up passenger turnaround times. Councillors in Hampshire defend their decision to name a village in honour of Leslie Phillips. And a motorist in Birmingham makes the mistake of leaving his car windows open as James Blunt comes on the radio. On Ian's team tonight is a political journalist who, when she was Lib Dem press secretary, forced an apology out of Jeremy Paxman for implying that Charles Kennedy had an alcohol problem. Then she went to work for ITN and won an award for revealing that Charles Kennedy had an alcohol problem. As we might say on Match of the Day, sold them the dummy, classy finish, 1-0. Please welcome Daisy McAndrew. And with Paul Merton tonight is a comedian and writer who was fired from The Guardian after their horrified editor noticed that his column was neither boring nor smug. Please welcome Mark Steele. Round one is where we start. Paul and Mark, do please have a look at this.
Oh, yes, this is the future King of England, and Kate Middleton, the woman he's not allowed to marry because she's very middle class. There's the Queen, she's awfully posh, you know. And we don't know what we call that. We call it a toilet, a bad mole, there's so many different things you can call it. This is all about manners, isn't it? And people's places in society and where they are suspected to be and
the fact that they've split up, which I think was probably organised by Philip, who said, well, look, it's best if we call it off now because we have to organise another crash in a tunnel. Someone's going to get suspicious.
I think it's Prince
Philip to you,
You're not thinking of the work
involved.
Well, we have to believe the newspapers for all this. Whereas, I mean, if you think a week ago they were all saying, Wills and Kate, definitely to marry, it's a love match, then suddenly they split up and they went, I told you so.
It was just full of it every day, and then Blair had to say something, and you thought, the United Nations will make a statement next saying these brave people, what they've been through. If only the people of Darfur could show the same sort of courage that these brave people have been through.
He did. Tony Blair said these young people should be left alone because if I know anything about the press, everything written about them will just be nonsense.
Yeah, well, it might be true in their case. With Blair, it's all true.
Yeah.
But this is all supposed to be the royal circle around William. So, I mean, these courtiers, the people who hang around in bougies with him till 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'm sorry, what is that, a nightclub or some sort of special trousers? You've got your bougies on, I say, sir. Well, mine from the Duke of Cumberland, you know.
An article in the Daily Mail by Krishna Fulford. I want to see if I can remember the exact words. 'Cause at one point she said, I am a firm believer that one should not marry outside one's own class. It is in a princess's breeding to know which knife and fork to use when peeling a banana. Because working class people just go, banana. It's like when the Queen turns up at Ascot and the commentator always says something like, oh, and there's the Queen, and she always lights up Ascot by wearing the most wonderful array of hats.
She's an arsonist. Ever since she goes round with the back of a petrol can. They can't touch her because she's the Queen. She says it herself. She reeks of paraffin, that woman. Reeks of it. That's why you're not allowed to smoke in her presence.
You're right, this is the
I'm
split.
right.
You're right.
Fantastic. I'm right, that's great.
Can I just rehearse my theory about the monarchy? Is that we're very, very happy with them as long as their lives are very boring. As long as they have dull holidays in Scotland, they go to places where it rains and nobody else wants to go, and they have picnics and they like horses and dogs and they look miserable, then we're fine. Diana came along, went on a jet ski. Looked like she was having fun. It won't do. Now her sons go to nightclubs and drink a lot. They look as though they're having a laugh. We don't want that. We want William to have a nice girl, to be very quiet and to be very dull. Horses, dogs, Scotland, picnics. And they've got to toe the line. William dumping this girl suggests he wants to have an interesting life, and I, for one, am not going to have it.
I think they're at their best when they're moaning about stuff. That's when I think... It's when Prince Charles, you know, the other week, you put a DVD into a machine and you put it in another DVD and it's not in the same place. Well, you know, what are we going to do to help him?
I think we need to replace the official keeper of the DVD. He comes in, puts it in, white gloves, takes it out. Good evening, Your Majesty.
Well, do you think even if they haven't got a DVD, they've got a special TV set where they sort of run behind it with bits of tree and stuff to convince him he's watching a film rather than disappoint him that there is no DVD player available? There's just some bloke, tiny little man, who runs past enacting bits from James Bond films.
Always.
Couldn't he have someone to run his bath the right temperature? It has to be the right same person
Squeeze
every
his
day.
toothpaste.
Yeah, squeeze the toothpaste.
That was one of the better jobs.
Yes.
Is that a different person? They don't double up then? They don't...
Don't be silly.
You can't squeeze toothpaste and run a bath at the same time. You'd need a woman for that. It's multitasking. Multitasking. Toothpaste and bath.
Kate's mum, Mrs. Middleton, as it said in the Express, is descended from Durham mining stock. We've got no funny footage of Durham miners, but we have got some Russian miners. The background you need to know is that the miner in question has agreed to do a TV interview to deny allegations that drinking on the job is a problem in the Russian mining industry.
Зарплату последнюю дали это 6 марта за... Работали вы когда? В ноябре, 17 ноября.
Почему решили на такую меру? Думаете, поможет?
Somebody pulling him off.
And according to the tabloids, what do most of the young women queuing up to go out with William have in common?
Quadruple barrelled surnames.
It is more or less exactly right, actually. This was the Sun's headline. Roll out the double barrels. Although one of them is actually a triple barrel,
Oh, yes,
no
the
less.
Anstruther Guff Calpol.
Not Calpol, it's Isabella Anstruther Goff Calthorpe.
I thought she was a child's medication heiress.
Cowpole millions.
But lest we forget, in the middle of this, there are people who've been the worst affected of all. It's the lookalikes, actually, who are signed up to the lookalike
I don't
agencies.
believe there are people who made a living as
Tragic,
lookalikes.
really. Here are 4 of the Kate lookalikes in the Mail. They look neither like Kate,
Nothing like
nor
her.
indeed each other. It's a bit sad, really. One of them said, I didn't do it for the money. The reason I became a lookalike was for the parties you attend. Another said, the agency signed me straight away. I even had a meeting with Alison Jackson, who creates celebrity scenarios for television. Now, she said, it's all turned to dust.
They're actually sympathetic. That's very funny. We'll get some puppies on in a minute.
Have we got puppies?
Yeah, they're coming
We haven't
on.
got puppies. We've got something even as sad, actually. These blokes have had no work now, not a sniff of work. Oh, it must be about 3 months.
Is Robert Winston not popular anymore?
This was the split between Prince William and Kate Middleton. Kate's mum was apparently seen by royal insiders as a pushy mother. That's one thing you couldn't accuse the Queen of being, given that her kids have achieved bugger all between them. And royal relationships never run smoothly. After all, Prince Charles first met Camilla way back in the 70s when this famous picture was taken of them chatting by a tree. Turned out, of course, it wasn't actually her he was talking to. Ian and Daisy, here's yours. Pay attention, have a look at this.
Well, that'll be Des Brown come to resign. Oh, no.
He didn't.
They don't resign anymore.
Nor does he. Go on, go.
That's David Miliband.
That's not Mr. Bean.
A lot of... That is Bono, and the other one is Gordon Brown.
Yes.
He's not very keen on celebrities anymore.
Why
He
not?
announced this week that the age of celebrity is dead and that we are no longer interested in just tittle-tattle and gossip and celebrities. Britain is ready for somebody boring, he said.
Yeah. You got anyone in mind?
Words to that effect.
But the story was actually about David Miliband. What's he
Which?
like? Nice bloke, charming behind the scenes?
I tell you what he does. I was at a briefing with him the other day and he kept rubbing his nipples. It was really off-putting. He's one of these guys that leans back in his chair and does that. And it's not a good look.
I've never seen another guy like that.
I've never seen another guy do that.
And he
I can
obviously
see
doesn't
why you're a top political commentator.
stop these
Very
things.
little gets past you, doesn't it?
What was he rubbing them with? Cooking fat or something? When you get the person who signs in the corner for the late night news, when David Miliband's name comes up, they just go...
Friends of Miliband say that David has said he's not a candidate and he means it.
He's not said anything that he hasn't said before, but what he has done is say it in a way that some journalists think it's a big story.
Lots of winking was he who was saying it. I'm not a candidate.
Is the nipple rubbing some kind of signal?
I'm not a candidate.
I don't understand why, because someone says exactly the opposite of what they mean as a politician, you think they don't mean it.
Really?
It's like saying we're not going to raise taxes. And then they do.
You
What
don't
days-
think politicians speak in politician speak?
No, I think what you think of as code, we usually refer to as lies.
Yes.
According to The Independent, what has Gordon Brown said which might have persuaded David Miliband not to contest the leadership?
He said, if you run, I'll kill you.
What he actually said was, Brown said he'd serve only one more full term after the remaining 3 years of this one, so he'll step aside in 7 years' time, by which time David Miliband will still only be 12, so he's got time on his side. So where are you on Gordon Brown, then? You any more of a fan of his than you are of Blair's?
But, I mean, it's hard not to be better than Blair, in a way. You know, all he's got to do is be better than Blair. He must feel a little bit like whatever Doctor took over from Harold Shipman, I should think.
There's someone else who'll be particularly disappointed by the news
Someone
that
else
David
apart
Miliband
from
isn't going to
Gordon
run.
Brown.
Charles Clarke?
No, it's Tim Henman,
we?
actually, who'd been hoping to launch a new career as a David Miliband lookalike. Highly static hair. David Miliband was once stopped in his own constituency and asked for an autograph by a man who then said, "Thanks, Mr Henman." I'm constantly asked for the autograph of another living person. Can you think who that might be?
I'm afraid
you
I
say
don't know
one.
who you are.
Well, people come up to me in the street and say, "You're on the telly, aren't you?" I go, "Yeah." I said, "You're really good." I go, "Thanks very much." They say, "How do you eat those bugs?" And they think I'm Ray Mears, that bloke who goes into the jungle. So I've actually got a Ray Mears signature now. I can't bear to disappoint them. But he must be constantly asked about, you know, are West Brom going to go up this season? He must be thoroughly pissed off with that too.
Or otherwise, people come up to him the whole time and say, "You're Ray Mears, aren't you?"
That'd be better, that'd be preferable. This is the continuing and exciting race for the Labour leadership. According to The Observer, Alistair Campbell used to call David Miliband brains, normally preceded by shitfer. David Miliband is actually half Belgian and half Polish, which means he's a little bit on the dull side, but he will do your bathroom check. And as the Labour leadership contest hotted up, David Miliband said last week that all this attention is very flattering, but I'm not going to be seduced, at which point a disappointed Peter Mandelson turned on his heels and chucked his flowers in the bin. So to round two, the Have I Got News for You?
Oh,
Wheel of News.
wee! Wheel of News.
Well, I spin it.
The budget on this show must be extraordinary. Look at this.
I spin it, you talk about the story. That's
OK,
Do you think Anton Deck would have a wheel of news? Cost 10p.
Yeah.
Here he goes. Daisy, just hold on tight, will you? It's not quite...
That's Brian Ferry, isn't it, I think? Yes, Brian Ferry this week came out in praise of the look of the Nazis. They're beautiful, they were wonderful, they were so fantastic, and the uniforms were great, and you could just wipe the blood off just like that. And it was absolutely wonderful, and the buildings are fantastic. Oh, the Nazis! No, I didn't mean them.
So no one's insinuating he was a Nazi?
No, Brian Ferry?
Yeah.
No one's insinuating that. Are they not? There's probably a legal reason for that. I say he is. That's the lawyer suddenly going, No, he's not really. No, he's not. No, he is. He is.
What exactly?
No. I know Brian Ferry very well. He's not a Nazi. He is. He's a massive...
We should point out that Brian Ferry has apologised unreservedly for his remarks.
He praised the art, he praised the look, and then realised that he was actually advertising suits from Marks and Spencer's, and decided that he would change his mind about all that.
It's more of a Jewish firm than a Nazi firm.
Yeah, exactly.
So he thought perhaps the wind wasn't blowing his way.
Yeah.
He said it
But
was...
one day it will!
Here's what he said to a German newspaper, mind you. He said, "My God, the Nazis knew how to put themselves in the limelight and present themselves. Leni Riefenstahl's movies and Albert Speer's buildings and the mass parades and the flags, just amazing. Really beautiful."
I mean, that was one of the points about the Nazis' presentational skills. They were awfully good, which is why people saluted and got swept away.
So they are swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
Are there any more famous heartthrobs who made fools of themselves this week?
Has Ray Mears done something?
He looks like me, he can't be a heartthrob, I
What's your
promise you.
favourite reptile?
Crocodile, I think.
Well, thank you for
Maybe
thinking about it.
heartthrob.
Brian Ferry, what other
Now,
famous
we've moved
heartthrobs?
on. Another famous heartthrob. What about Richard Gere? He apologised for a very public display of affection.
He kissed your Shilpa Big
Shilpa
Brother lady.
Shetty.
He
Shilpa
did-
Shetty,
he-
yeah.
he
Very
didn't
over
have...
the
He
top.
seemed to completely lose the plot. This is a toe curler, this, ladies and gentlemen.
And perhaps it should have ended there, but as so often happens, one kiss led to another and another. Shilpa Shetty, knowing that this is not the Indian way, looked surprised and a little frightened.
Was that just so people don't think he's gay?
That's another one for the lawyer, I think, Daisy. You'll have to...
I didn't say he was, I just said so people don't think he is.
You've got him into an awful lot of
I
trouble.
didn't think Richard Gere was gay.
No, but he's a Nazi.
Is he?
What happened next?
Lots of people got very upset because this is considered very outlandish behaviour in public.
They started burning these effigies, but they always seem to have them ready. Have they got sort of like everybody?
Yeah.
Just ready in case they need burning.
But they burnt them of her as well after that, which I thought was a little unfair.
Well, she was pretty blameless there, wasn't she? What can you
Do you
do
think
if
this
you've got
stuff's just put around by effigy salesmen
Yeah.
who start causing dissent in public places, and there's an effigy shop just up the road, mate. Some
Got
blokes
loads of Richard Gere's
knocking them out,
It's not a bad business idea, is it, effigy.com? Do you think anyone's actually registered that?
Would you be willing to put some money in with it, maybe? Maybe the three of us should do that.
We might
Maybe
get our
we
own
could,
burnt by the end of this programme,
Maybe we
actually.
could get one of Ray Mears.
Why crocodile?
Do you know what? I couldn't think of another single flipping solitary reptile.
Really?
I couldn't think of one.
So really you wouldn't pick
What's
crocodiles?
your favourite?
Oh, I don't know. I've never given it a moment's thought, and I'm not going to do it now either.
Daisy? Reptile?
Chameleon.
Ian?
Milliband.
Did you plan that, you two? Did
This
you
is
plan
a good
that?
story. This is a very
What do you mean,
good
did we
story.
plan that?
Yeah. What did you say? I'll say something daft about reptile, and then it'll go to you, and you say Milliband, and everyone applauds. Is that how it
What do you
works?
think we do with our lives? You don't think anybody would write this crap, do you?
Astonishingly, there was...
Better be astonishing. I've turned against you now. Let's just see how astonishing it is, Mr. Mears.
Oh, it's all going wrong. But why haven't they started slaughtering me yet? Now it's happened. There we go, an hour in. Or 10 minutes in, if you're watching the edited edition. This week, Brian Ferry praised the Nazis. If any of its readers were unsure what a typical Nazi looked like, the Daily Star helpfully provided a picture.
I thought you were going to show Prince Harry there for a minute. Oh, it is Prince Harry.
To be fair to Mr. Ferry, that's a lovely tie. In an attempt to rectify the situation, Brian Ferry's agent told assembled reporters to take offence here is to confuse the aesthetic with the ideological, at which point Brian Ferry chipped in, "Yes, you say what you like about Fred West, he could lay a lovely patio." Mercifully, it's time for the next spin.
Bees.
Correct.
Britain's bees are dying. They're suffering from colony collapse disorder.
It's mobile phones.
Possibly.
They can't handle the bills. And they commit suicide en masse.
Scientists have warned that mobile phone signals are upsetting bees' navigation systems. They lose their sense of direction, get lost, then die of exposure. How is the government's national bee unit responding to this emergency?
Oh, it's a big buzz.
There's a more obvious gag than that, actually.
It doesn't exist.
There isn't a more obvious gag.
There is. What kind of operation is it?
Oh, Plan B.
No?
Oh, that's good.
A sting.
Sting operation is the correct answer. Yes, but they're not really. They're investigating the problem by contacting experts in the US and Europe, which sounds rather weak. What kind of trap might they be organising?
A honey trap.
That's correct again. Daisy, you're good at these.
But why are you trying to trap someone? They're
That
already
was just a
dying.
joke. That was just,
sorry.
that was just a joke.
I'm sorry, because you do all that nature stuff, I thought you were...
Unfortunately, we've got no amusing footage of bees, but we do have something we can kind of crowbar in here.
Okay.
It's from a home shopping channel.
While we're doing that, let me show you something really impressive. Remember the picture of the horse I showed you earlier? Well, here it is, blown up. This is a big horse. Look at that horse. The bushy tail, the big teeth, the hooves. Okay, my producer, Tara Cates, just told me this isn't a horse, it's a butterfly. Actually, it may in fact be a moth.
This is the news that mobile phones can kill bees. The mobile phone industry denies it's killing bees. It's probably just nature taking its course, said a spokesman at the launch of the Nokia Bee Killer 2. I'll give you the next spin.
OK.
Anything to say on that?
Yeah, it's a cross between a satellite navigation and a telephone. So when the telephone rings, if you're not there, it comes and finds you.
Who's it manufactured by?
Alan Sugar.
Amstrad?
It's manufactured by Amstrad. There are only 3 of these in existence. There's one on Sir Alan's desk. There's
Yeah.
one in the boardroom. The secretary's got it in front of her, and there's
Yes.
one in the candidate's house. Anyway, I've done my bit for Amstrad, which means at the end of this round, it is...
Wait a minute. What? Is that it? You going on about Amstrad?
That's it.
That was an advert, wasn't it?
What are you getting for that?
Well, I'll
To
probably
keep
get
your
a bollocking,
job?
actually, because I was taking the piss out of him, so that's the last you'll see of me on The Apprentice.
What's he
but,
like? People say he's a bit pleased with himself and he's a bit of a git.
I have never seen him stroking his nipples, though. I'll tell you that.
He gets somebody to do that for him.
Yeah.
Those 2 people
Oh,
sit
those
either side of him.
apprentices.
Oh, yes, Sir Alan, you're wonderful. Oh, yes, Sir Alan. We think you're fantastic.
How about I give you the scores?
Go on, then.
Yeah.
It's 4-all. Paul and
Oh.
Mark have 4. Ian and Daisy have 4. Round 3 is the odd one out round. Ian and Daisy, your 4 are Ted Bates, Madonna and Guy Ritchie, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and Sam Fox.
He is a footballer.
Ted
Ted
Bates.
Bates. Who did he play for?
Southampton.
Well, Ted Bates, there was recently a statue that was set up for him outside the new Southampton ground, and it wasn't very well liked, was it?
The Southampton fans' website said, why have they built us a statue of Jeanette Cranky?
The guy who
there's a
painted
painting of
Madonna
Guy
and Ritchie painted them sort of like, and he didn't like it, sort of very muscular Madonna and Guy Ritchie with sort of like thick sausage sandwich fingers. Oh, I don't like it. I don't like what he's done to my bird. Do you know what I mean? So that's them. What's his name has probably had a cartoon done about him. Samantha Fox is the odd one out because she hasn't been misrepresented in a funny way.
Well, that's almost there. They're all subjects of unflattering works of art, apart from Sam Fox,
Yeah.
a proposed statue of whom in Serbia has recently been cancelled. Let's have a look at Ted Bates. Former Southampton football legend, as you so correctly said, was the subject of an unflattering statue earlier this year. Here it is. It's 11 foot tall, took 18 months to make and cost 112,000 English pounds. That's value for money, that is.
The size of the ball and the size of his head.
Yeah, but you haven't got a clue what Ted Bates looks like, so you're not qualified to
Well,
say
I'm
whether it's a
assuming
likeness
he's a
or not.
human.
How did the artist Ian Brennan respond to the criticisms?
No, I heard him on the Today programme. He was very sorry about it.
He said, I'm no Michelangelo.
But that's no Ted Bates, that's the problem.
Oh, is it still there, the statue?
No, they've got rid of it now.
What have they done with it?
It's in the House of Commons. They've given it a handbag. It's Mrs Thatcher now.
They stuck a Nazi armband on it and sold it to Brian Ferry.
On to Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. A portrait of Sheikh Mohammed, Vice President of the United Arab Emirates, was commissioned as a gift from his loyal subjects. But it was deemed too embarrassing and it couldn't be presented to him. What was inappropriate about it?
Was David Miliband in the background, rubbing his nipples?
Sheikh Mohammed looks like this. In the painting, he looks like this. Sheikh Mohammed didn't like it. How did Annie Kevins justify her work, the artist?
It's a long time since I saw him.
It's the only face I can do.
I think she said, I'm not Michelangelo.
Yeah.
She said, I wanted him to look vulnerable, using the image of the child as a metaphor, juxtaposing it with ideas relating to wealth and power.
Yeah,
in other words, she just couldn't do beards. Madonna and Guy Ritchie are the subject of a painting being sold by the Glasgow artist Peter Howson. Here it is. Guy Ritchie doesn't want anyone to see the portrait, so he's putting it in his next film. And Sam Fox, the odd one out, because a town in Serbia has recently cancelled a statue of her. It was to coincide with a concert she was giving there. As one fan said at the time, other towns have their heroes in parks, so why can't we?
Was it going up next to the one of Slobodan Milosevic?
Well, it's not going up at all, so why was it cancelled?
Because she wouldn't sing Touch My Body or whatever that song is she does.
She stormed off after a concert when fans started up a chant about wanting to see her breasts.
Oh.
She subsequently failed to show at a dinner in her honour, so the statue's backers pulled out.
Subsequently failed to show her breasts at the dinner, or subsequently failed to show
Well,
at the dinner?
I didn't think she showed at the dinner, so presumably her breasts didn't make it either.
You never know. They are big.
They are big. They're all subjects of unflattering artworks, apart from Sam Fox, a statue of whom has recently been cancelled in Serbia as engineers couldn't work out how to stop it toppling forward. Sam Fox was upset in the middle of a concert in Serbia when fans urged her to get her breasts out rather than sing. Actually, do anything really other than sing. Madonna and Guy Ritchie were recently outraged by this portrait by the Glasgow artist Peter Howson. In the painting, Madonna looks as if she's expecting a child. And if you study the background, you can see the plane from Malawi about to touch down. Paul and Mark, your four are as follows. Johnny Cash.
Yep.
Gordon Brown. Gertrude Schilling and Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea.
Here's my theory on this, right? Because the most brilliant obscure fact about Johnny Cash is that he was severely injured by an ostrich at one point.
Was he?
Yeah.
Was it a duet that went wrong?
Yeah, it's just a guess, but I think all these other people sort of revere ostriches in some manner or other. For example, the woman with the big hat probably has a hat with ostrich feathers in it.
Yeah.
In Papua New Guinea, they probably have some sort of national symbol that's got an ostrich in it, and Gordon Brown's probably got a pet ostrich. There we are.
That's entirely wrong.
Well,
He's
a
Gertrude
surname.
Schilling.
Cash, Schilling and New Guinea are all money, and Gordon Brown isn't. So he's the odd one out.
Completely correct.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's the worst odd one out I've ever heard. Is it next week Rabbi Blue, Gordon Brown and Jenny Green? Ooh, they've all got colours.
Is this just sour grapes?
Yeah.
Of course it's sour grapes, Ray.
The odd one out is the fourth one because there's a bloke there with a barcode round his neck.
Yeah.
Take that to the supermarket and he gets a packet of fish fingers.
They all have money-related names, apart from Gordon Brown. Although we learnt this week he did sell off a massive chunk of Britain's gold reserves when the market was at rock bottom, thereby costing us all £2 billion. That's £2 billion, or in the government's preferred unit, 200 peerages. Something else has come back from the past to haunt Gordon Brown.
Godzilla. They were arch enemies. Do you remember 1966, Godzilla versus Gordon Brown? The huge clunking fist of Gordon Brown fought against Godzilla. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was in black and white.
It was in black and white in those days. They swapped identities for 4 years. Godzilla went to live in Scotland and Gordon Brown terrorised Japan.
But Godzilla...
Yeah.
Godzilla then sold King Kong when it was right at the bottom of the monsters market.
He had a girlfriend that was posher than Kate Middleton, called Princess somebody from Romania or somewhere.
Princess somebody. Can't parents be cruel? Princess somebody from Romania. They just could have named her, but no.
No, they wanted her to think she was a somebody.
Yeah. Princess somebody.
Could she peel a banana with a knife and fork?
She could do it sitting down.
Wearing
Go to the
white
next
gloves.
question.
So I'll tell you what it was.
Yeah.
It was something he wrote called A Parasite's Charter. He wrote it when he was a student. It's a guide to scrounging and conning. He also had advice for people when going to a bring a bottle party. Would you care to venture a guess as to what that might have been?
Take miniatures.
He said take a bag with bricks in it, or so it feels heavy and it clunks.
He said use a carrier bag of empty cans with 2 half bricks at the bottom.
Oh, Gordon Brown, why do you not leave us alone? You have ruined our crops. That's how I remember it.
Papua New Guinea. The guinea was a coin, you see. Who recently managed to offend Papua New Guinea?
Prince Philip.
Boris Johnson. He's attacked Liverpool, Portsmouth
Yes.
and Papua New Guinea.
Don't they still eat people in Papua
Yes,
New Guinea?
he said full of cannibals. Unlike people who put their foot in their mouth.
Yeah.
What he actually...
Self-capitalism.
He said as much in an article. He was actually talking about the Labour leadership crisis, and he said, in the Tory party we've become used to Papua New Guinea-style orgies of cannibalism and chief-killing. Boris apologised, of course.
Yes.
What did he say?
He said, I'm really sorry to the people of Bongo land.
A little more eloquent than that, actually. So I meant no insult to the people of Papua New Guinea, who I'm sure lead lives of blameless bourgeois domesticity in common with the rest of us. Adding, I'm happy to add Papua New Guinea to my global itinerary of apology. Time now for the missing words round, which this week includes headlines from our guest publication, the Journal of Camel Practice and Research. Let's start with don't bother to what? Astonishing order at a hard-up hospital.
Is it live? It's wash. It's wash the sheets. A lot of trust funds hard up. Why bother to wash the linen, particularly if someone's had an unpleasant disease? Why not just turn it round?
Don't bother to wash sheets. Astonishing order at a hard-up hospital. This comes amidst an MRSA crisis which is forcing patients to go abroad for some operations, such as India for eye surgery, Hungary for dental work, and Saudi Arabia for amputations. Who gets the fatwa here? Is it the one who writes it or the one who reads it?
The public face. The public face. Ray Mears will be in trouble this weekend, I can tell you.
Next, I'll give you a clue here. It is from the guest publication.
Oh, OK.
The 2-humped camel lives in a what, hence what?
In a world of its own, hence the dreamy smile.
In a semi-detached, hence the smell.
Here it is. The 2-humped camel lives in a cold climate, hence its milk has a high fat content.
Oh, of course.
How long do you think we'd be guessing before we got to that? About another 10 minutes?
Next, at last, the Mr. Men get what?
Pissed. Mister, where was I last night? Get their own TV series.
Independence.
A new TV show.
Whoa.
The show will feature 3 new characters based on the TV executives who commissioned the show as Mr. Uninspired, Mr. Lack of Imagination, and Mr. Let's go with something that was popular when we were kids. The new TV series will also mean a boost to sales of Mr. Men books, said the publisher, Mr. Happy. Next, a camel which became dull and depressed was found to have what?
Classic FM on constant.
It's bought skunk off the zebras.
He's bought a skunk and tried to smoke that.
Yeah.
Can't get it in the business.
And the zoo has got a sign up saying, don't give the skunk to the camel.
Yeah. This isn't going to be a pun, is it? It was found to have the ump. It's not going to be that, is it?
It's another one that'll go on forever.
Is
if you
it
try and
to
guess
have read entire canon of Geoffrey Archer's novels?
No.
Was it found to have married Geoffrey Archer?
No.
Had a liaison with him?
Nothing to do with Geoffrey Archer.
Really? Why are we talking about him then?
I'll call a halt to this now. A camel which became dull and depressed was found to have eaten a cast iron harrow. So you can't have too much iron in your diet.
What's a harrow?
I think it's something that smooths the ground off once you ploughed it or something. Any farmers in here tonight? Anyone ever ploughed anything?
War, we have.
Yeah.
He wants to bring his sheep through, so we can't hang about. This is ancient rights, this bit.
And finally, tipping non what?
Wins the Grand National.
It's not necessary. They don't do it for the money. That's not why you become a nun.
Very good.
Tipping nun off railway bridge makes Pope laugh.
It's a tipster. She was on the radio.
That's pretty
People
close.
ask her for top tips.
Tipping non has a winning habit. 2 years ago, Sister Rita had her best year ever, the hospice, when a two-part bet came in for her. Hedge Hunter won the national, and then Ethel in Bed 3 was first to pop her clogs. Right, so the final scores are... Paul and Mark have 10, Ian and Daisy have 7.
Oh.
Before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Are they doing a new BBC show to find the goat in The Sound of Music? How do you solve a problem like goat? Thousands of entrants come in and the judges go, no, you're not a goat. Goat on property ladder.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Daisy McAndrew, Paul Merton and Mark Steele. And I'll leave you with news that George Bush responds to criticism that he's lost touch with reality over Iraq by sending in his crack regiment. In Westminster, David Blunkett regrets not being more secretive with his PIN number. And in an attempt to patch up their differences, Kate Middleton's mother invites the Queen out for lunch. Good night.
Sweet and sour next on BBC Two. Catch up with The Apprentice and the world of confectionery.
They're going to the toilet together now. They'll be back shortly.
Going for a comfort.
We just got to go through my many cock-ups now, so if you can bear with us for a bit. I had these, actually, because I wish I'd done Benny Hill instead of Ray Mears, but I also look like Benny Hill, as you'll see if I put these on. Yeah?